Hi there, good evening. You're watching Startup Central and I'm Sumita, Kareer. And if it's startups, technology, the emerging businesses, and of course the new economy, if all of those sectors interest you, well then this is the show that you should be watching weekdays at 6 p.m. to keep a track of all the developments in the space and how the Building in India story is shaping up. But developments aside, ladies and gentlemen, we also look forward to having loads of constructive feedback from you on what you'd like to watch on the show and what you really think of the show. So you do share your thoughts with us at suc@etnow.tv. Moving on, let's take a quick look at what's coming up on the show. Well, India is all set to develop its own world-class Gen AI model. Well, that's the word coming in from the Union IT Minister, Ashwini Vaishnav himself. We also take a look at OpenAI's purported visit of Sam Altman, the company's head honcho. He's looking to visit India amidst the company's legal challenges. That's what reports are suggesting. We take a deeper dive into what this visit could really mean for OpenAI and what is it looking to achieve with this India visit. And of course, we take a look at Budget 2025. What are the big expectations of the gaming sector? We take a look at all of those stories in just a bit, but let's take a quick look. Rather, let's focus our energies on Budget 2025, the big expectations. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is part 3 of our budget special series on industry expectations from the Finance Minister when she announces the budget this Saturday. So what really is the gaming industry focusing on? What are the big expectations? Let's get in Abhishek Rastogi, the tax and constitutional expert. He's joining us this evening live on Startup Central. Thank you very much, Mr. Rastogi, for joining us here on ET Now.
Thanks.
Mr. Rastogi, first things first, we've heard a lot happen in the gaming segment. There have been, numerous calls to reduce GST from 28% to 18%, and of course, to differentiate between what are games of chance and games of skill. But do line up 3 specific expectations that you have from the Finance Minister when she delivers the budget outprint.
See, I think for the gaming sector, one is certainly the retrospective amendment. How would that come into play? Because if these demands are, finalized at that amount, then I think we are talking about killing the gaming sector. For India to become the gaming hub, it is very important that these policy decisions are announced in this budget. So, as you are aware that Supreme Court just recently has given stay on all of these show cause notices which have been issued to the gaming companies. And why is that important is because, today we are not only disputing about the rate. Rate is only one part of it, game of skill versus game of chance, and whether the rate should be 28% versus 18%. I think that's not too much worrisome as far as the gaming industry is concerned. But what is more worrisome is the mechanism for valuation of that service. Would the entire gross gaming revenue would be taxable, or it is only the revenue of the gaming companies which must be subject to tax? That is the predominant question. The related question is that there are certain changes which have come in the GST provisions in 2023. The issue is whether the higher demands on the higher base value would be applicable retrospectively from 2017 and not from the time when this amendment has come. So I think what is expected in budget is a clear definition or the clarification with respect to applicability of this rule, which is very, very prospective, which looks very much prospective from the provisions, but which requires a clarification. So I think once that clarification comes, the industry will have an immediate breather. The Supreme Court has also stayed all of these show cause notices all throughout the country. So from that perspective, I think the announcement being made here in the budget will be very important. That is one. Secondly, we've been seeing the role of technology all through the globe. We've seen this DeepSeek, and all other disruptors in terms of artificial intelligence. Now, if India has to reduce the gap between these countries and the technology which India is leading, I think this is the time. This is the time when the industry is looking to the Union Finance Minister for her reformative approach towards the technology. Gaming is one part of it because remember, once the gap increases between other
Right.
countries and India, it will be
Right.
very difficult for India to cope up. So, from that
Right.
perspective, I think
Difficult to
policy and
bridge.
structural
Absolutely. And I
announcements.
completely agree with you when you say that that gap will be. Right, that gap will be difficult to bridge, Mr. Rastogi. When you talk about AI and the kind of push that it could give to the gaming sector in terms of storytelling and further enhancing the user experience, how uh, how satisfied are you today with what the Union IT Minister had to say about India's AI mission? He stated that funding for the ecosystem will continue for 4 more years. What more needs to be done in the upcoming budget so far as giving a boost to AI with respect to gaming is concerned? Because time and again, India has stated that it wants to become a global hub for gaming innovation.
I think it's absolutely very encouraging. And if you see even the vision of Prime Minister Modi, in one of these speeches, he said that India must become a gaming hub. So I think both from the perspective of artificial intelligence and other related technology aspects, India today must make these policy decisions so that we decide for next 5 years, 10 years, that how much investment will be there, how much support from the government will be there. We need to create environment where a lot of research and development is done. Today, if we see the gaming hub, there are a lot of these gaming companies, and these are one of the finest gaming companies of the world, which are today present here in India with huge user bases, huge technological advantage. We have young professionals. India has done tremendously well. Now, if policy coupled with the tax incentives and benefits are encouraged for the sector, I don't have any doubt to see that India cannot become the gaming hub of the world. Similarly, when it comes to the artificial intelligence and other technology related things, a little boost from the industry, a little boost with respect to research and development. So, all the research and development costs which are going for new products, new services related to artificial intelligence and technology, if there are income tax deductions which are given, if there are exemptions which are given, if there is some boost which is given to them, I think there is no reason that India can't do as well as what the China or the US is doing in this sector.
Right, and that given that the sector is projected to reach 38,000 crores by 2026, and that's according to FICCI's projections. But Mr. Rastogi, if you could expand a bit more on the fact that industry has asked for a reduction in TDS on digital platforms and has asked for tax benefits for esports and video gaming companies. Now, if these tax benefits actually get announced, how are they going to give a boost to the gaming sector, and what will be the quantum of the boost?
See, I think these announcements and incentives always act as a placebo. So what happens is that the moment you feel that the government is there with you for these initiatives, you are motivated within yourself as an organization. That is one. Secondly, I think every penny counts when it comes to research and development. So we have seen it in the past also that the government has given such incentives where if you spend 100 rupees for research and development, you get a deduction of 110 in your from your income. So the moment you get these incentives for deductions for these research and development expenses, you are more motivated to do some innovative things. You are more motivated to invest in these research and development because your cost is effectively a lesser cost, and any new product or service in the technology era which can come can completely disrupt, can it can one change can make you a market leader. Today we are talking about DeepSeek. One change, everybody is talking about DeepSeek, what this has happened in China. So the moment the young talent here in India, and there is no lack of talent, the moment the young talent gets some boost, one from the policy initiatives or the announcement, which I'm again repeating is like a placebo. Second, in terms of some monetary benefits, income in terms of tax deductions or tax benefits. And third, I think liberal approach and some infrastructure provision. If that happens, then certainly we can see that India is no less from any of these countries.
When you talk about liberal policies, I completely appreciate your point, but we do have to also understand that this is a burgeoning sector. And of course, there are a lot of bad actors in the ecosystem as well. So protecting the interests of users is key, is of utmost importance. However, that should not really stifle innovation. Final few questions, Mr. Rastogi, before we let you go. Now, you mentioned a very interesting point about infrastructure. What kind of an infrastructure push, as far as the gaming sector is concerned, are you hoping for? And secondly, would you bat for a fund of funds for the gaming sector specifically? And if yes, what is the kind of fiscal incentive that you're looking for?
See, I think one is the clear policy on the GST. Because if you are talking specifically about the gaming sector, you cannot tax me retrospectively at a higher rate. It will kill me. Basically, it is just like saying, don't do gaming operations here in the country. So I think that announcement is must. It's do or die for me. So I think Supreme Court has also understood that the tax amount cannot be as high as what is proposed in these show cause notices, because in some cases, the tax amount is much more than my revenue. So that is a killer. It can't happen. So that is one. Second is there must be some policy announcements as far as my direct taxes are also concerned, because I need to be motivated to invest more money in research and development. My services or my new products should not be the routine products or the routine research and development. The moment I get some incentive to, in terms of tax savings, then I'll be encouraged to do that. So I think that is the second thing which industry is looking for. The third aspect is infrastructure. Today, infrastructure could be, the physical infrastructure. We must have some of these hubs where, some incentives are given. You remember the way SEZs were formed in India, EOUs were formed in India. We must have an area which is dedicated to these online gaming research and development center. Any city, any state must be identified where a lot of these incentives are given in terms of reduced prices of land, some benefits in terms of stamp duties, electricity, etc.
Right.
That will incentivize the sector. That would reduce my cost of doing research. That would reduce my cost of operating. Believe me or not, if India becomes the gaming hub and the technology hub, the amount of exports which will happen from this country will be tremendous, and it will help us in the balance of payments as well.
Some very valid points and very interesting ideas you have, Mr. Rastogi. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and, of course, what the gaming ecosystem is expecting from the Finance Minister this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, policy plus tax incentives, taking back retrospective tax notices, and, of course, a policy for direct taxes to motivate stakeholders in R&Ds. Overall, what the gaming industry is hoping for. And, of course, we were in conversation with Mr. Abhishek A. Rastogi, who's a tax and constitutional expert and an expert as far as gaming sector is concerned. With that, we slip into a quick break, but lots more coming up on the other side. You don't go anywhere, as we have a whole lot lined up on the other side of this short break.